Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be attempting to recreate an Anthropologie inspired lamp. Now this lamp is not only stunning, but it also is the epitome of exactly what I think of when I think of Anthropologie as a brand. It is expensive, it's beautiful, and we're going to be attempting to recreate it. Now I will just say that there are many components of this project that I have not thought through yet. Hopefully we'll figure this out together, and without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so as I just mentioned, we're going to be attempting to make a table lamp that is from Anthropologie. Table lamps, as they come from any store, Home Goods even, HomeSense in Canada, still cost between $40 and $50 if you want a really nice, intricate one. And this one from Anthropologie is substantially more expensive. I mean, it's $212 Canadian, which is a little bit beyond my price range. However, I will just say in the lamp's defense that it does have a lot of intricate details which could add on to that cost. So to kick things off with this project, the first thing we need to do is find a lamp base. And so I'm thinking maybe we'll head to some thrift stores, maybe Walmart. We're trying to just find something inexpensive that has the right kind of shape to act as a base for our project. So let's head on over to Value Village to start out. So it is now spring, and that means I've fully moved over to all my spring coats. But here's the thing, it's supposed to snow in like 2 days. I just saw that on the weather network. Like, I'm not prepared for this in-between weather, okay? So off we go, hitting the roads of Toronto, and we are heading to the first Value Village, and finally we have arrived. I love Value Village, one of my favorite places. So we're heading on in and browsing to see what they have in store for lamps. So I feel like this might be like one of the closer ones because it's a round base, but then this goes a little too high, I think. So that doesn't work. No, nothing else. Okay. Now off to the next Value Village. And we have reached Value Village number 2. Another Value Village. Nope. That's cute though. Not what we're looking for, but cute. So the third Value Village, hopefully it's going to have the lamp that we need in store. And it looks like we're in luck, you guys. This is so perfect. This is exactly what I've been looking for. Success! I'm glad that we found our lamp base, finally. So now let's take that home and make it into an Anthropologie dupe. Okay, so we have our table base here. It looks like it's gonna be about the right proportions. I actually looked up the dimensions of the original lamp. This is pretty similar. So my plan is to first try and like build out the roundish dome type section at the base. Initially, I was thinking I would get a little plastic bowl, turn it upside down, cut a slit in it, and like slide it onto this situation. But now I'm thinking I'm not sure how that would work. Also add in the point that it is now lockdown in Ontario, so nothing is open. I can't buy anything. We're gonna move on to plan B. We'll try and make kind of like a shape, and then we'll go from there. So to start off, I'm just grabbing a cardboard box and I'm cutting off the sides so I have some pieces that I can work with. And then I'm going ahead and I'm grabbing the base of the lamp to figure out the shape of the dome that we're going to be creating. And once I have that guide, I am cutting it out using some scissors and repeating that step a bunch of times so that I have 9 pieces of cardboard ready to go. I am cutting out the little center section just so that it fits flush, and then I'm gluing it down using some hot glue. Now once we have all of those glued in, it looks really funny, but after that we're going to fill in the segments using aluminum foil. So I'm just grabbing some chunks of aluminum foil, scrunching it up and gluing that in with hot glue. And once I have all the sections in between the cardboard filled in with aluminum foil, we can now go ahead and make some paper mache clay. And I am so excited for this because it's actually using toilet paper, which is so random. Okay, so now onto the paper mache clay. I'm basically just filling up a pot with hot water from the tap, and then I'm going to grab my toilet paper. I told you this is random. I'm basically just soaking in some toilet paper into that hot water to make it a little bit wet, and then I'm going to fill up 1.25 cups of this toilet paper after kind of squeezing out all the water. Now just a heads up, this recipe is from someone on YouTube called The Ultimate Paper Mâché. So check her out. I will link her video on this recipe down below. I've now placed the toilet paper back into the water and kind of swished it around to break up all those fibers. And now I'm going to basically strain out the fibers and just place them into a bowl. Now I realized that doing that by hand was taking forever, so I grabbed the top part of my steamer and that kind of worked as well, just to get those pieces of toilet paper fibers out. You are supposed to use a strainer, but I didn't have that. Next up, we're gonna grab some joint compound, and I'm gonna take a cup of that and just add that into the bowl that currently has the toilet paper. And once all that's in, I'm gonna grab some Elmer's glue, and I'm putting in 3/4 of a cup, which is almost the full thing, not quite. It's probably like 3/4 of that container. I'm now just going in with my hand mixer to make it all mixed together, and then once that's done, I'm adding in flour, and this is about 1/2 cup of flour, and the flour is basically going to thicken it up. The more flour you add, the more clay-like it will become. So I've added in that 1/2 cup of flour, and I just continue mixing that and mixing that and mixing it. I actually mixed it for several minutes, but once that was done, you can kind of see the consistency here. It's still pretty liquid, and that's what I wanted. If I wanted it to be more clay-like, I would add more flour. So next up, I'm just taking a butter knife because that's what the Ultimate Paper Mâché recipe recommends. So I'm just applying it, and it honestly reminded me so much of icing a cake. I couldn't even believe it, but this part was really, really fun. Hey you guys, so I just wanted to take a very quick intermission to tell you a little bit about Skillshare because they are the sponsor of today's video. Now, I know you've heard me talk about them before because I love them. Not only from a professional standpoint, but also just from like a creative standpoint. They've really helped me to learn new skills, which helps me in the YouTube space and also just helps me, you know, relax and learn creative stuff. So if you haven't heard of them before, they basically have thousands of classes in so many different topics, from photography, videography, to caring for plants, literally. There is actually a class I'm about to watch, and it's called Gardening 101, a guide for growing and caring for plants, and it's by Geraldine Levin. Now, the reason I'm particularly interested in this is because I have many faux plants all over my apartment, Exhibit A, although people think that this is a real fiddle leaf when they saw it in my bedroom decorating video. I digress. Now, the reason I have so many faux plants is because previously I purchased 2 plants, but I killed them both, and so after that I got a little bit discouraged. So hopefully in this class I'm going to learn how to properly care for them and how to not kill my plants, and from that, I mean, then I can have more greenery that's real in my home. Now, if you're interested in watching that class with me and learning more about plants or learning about any of those creative topics that Skillshare caters to, you can go ahead and click the link in my description box. The first 1,000 of you that do click that link will get a free trial of their premium membership, which is amazing. The actual cost of a full membership is under $10 per month on an annual subscription. So after your free trial ends, you can go ahead and cancel your membership or continue on with the paid one. And honestly, I love Skillshare so much, I couldn't recommend them enough. So without further ado, I'm gonna get back into making my lamp. But thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I love you so much. Good morning. Okay, so we're back, and I have my lampshade with the paper mache clay base on here. It has actually been 2 days, okay? And I can tell that this buddy is about 90% dry. I've tested it every once in a while since then, kind of just pressing on it, and I can tell it's like almost there, but not 100%. So while it gets to be 100% dry, I'm going to start with the floral detailings that are gonna go up this whole section here. Now, what I'm thinking is that for some of the leaf detailing, we will use cardboard and fortify it somehow. I think I figured out the type that will work for the designs that we need. Let's go, and I'll show you. Have you guessed it yet? Because it's going to be the cardboard boxes from all my little snacks and treats in my cupboard. So I figured out that the actual containers for these snacks are like the perfect type of cardboard that I think we could fortify, but also be able to bend into like this squiggly shape. So we're gonna try and do that, okay? So So now that we've got our empty snack boxes ready to go, I'm just cutting out some sections here for the leaves. Now we're starting off with some smaller leaves, and basically we're going to do a fan situation here for each of the leaves. Using a ruler I found made it easier to do the fanning. And then I'm cutting out some basic leaf shapes. So I have now made this many leaves. I don't need to make that many more, I don't think. So let's keep on going with my cutting and then my bending, all for the love of DIY. So just repeating that a bunch of times for the small leaves, and now we can move on to the bigger leaves. And for that I have some longer pieces of cardboard that we're gonna work with. And I'm just repeating that fanning situation using the ruler, as I mentioned, because that makes it super easy to get those crisp lines, and cutting those into some leaf shapes as well. Now these longer leaves are actually gonna be used for making flowers. So to make the flowers, I'm just using some hot glue and adding 4 leaves overlapping at the stem portion next to each other. And then I'm flipping it over, adding a little bit of hot glue and rolling it over to create a flower. And then I'm actually securing it with a paper clip. Once that's all done, I'm just going ahead and folding out the little petals to make it really look like a flower, and voila, we have our flowers and our leaves. Now to really fortify them, I'm grabbing some Elmer's glue, pouring that into a little dish and adding a little bit of water as well, and then stirring that around. And I'm going ahead and just saturating those leaves and the flowers using that Elmer's glue watered down concoction. And I actually did 3 separate coats of this Elmer's glue concoction to really make those leaves and the flowers super, super strong. Okay, so I'm just taking a little break here and having a cup of tea, because why not? That's what you do. I believe now at this point that the base of the lamp is fully dry, which is great, but I think I made a mistake at the same time, and I'll just show you real quick what I mean. So there are these little like bumped out sections. It looks a tiny bit like a grapefruit. So if you look like right here there's one, and here there's one, and here there's one, and here. Basically all the sections that I didn't cover with the tinfoil and that have just the cardboard, that is what happened. And I'm thinking it's because the paper mache clay shrinks a little bit, so it had room to shrink in a little bit around the tinfoil, but didn't have room to shrink in a bit around the cardboard. So in hindsight, I should have actually covered the whole thing with tinfoil. But you know what, I didn't do that. I do think there is a solution to this though, because on the YouTube channel of The Ultimate Paper Mache, she said that one way you could smooth paper mache is by adding more joint compound onto this. So I'm opening up that joint compound and using a piece of cardboard, I'm just adding it on those segment sections that are kind of a little bit more elevated, and using my finger to kind of smooth it out as well. So one thing's for sure is that I always am getting my hands dirty, like without a doubt. Doesn't matter if I have fancy nails on or not. But I will just say one good thing about the joint compound is that it covered up all those kind of like bumped out sections pretty well. I'm thinking it should be dry within an hour because the joint compound dries pretty quickly. So I will check back in with you when this is dried and we can move to the next step. So next up, I'm just grabbing some of these fake florals that I had kicking around, and I'm using the stem of them to create the stem section of the flowers on this piece. So once I have them all kind of like bent into shape, I'm hot gluing them down into place using Gorilla Glue glue sticks. And then I'm going ahead and adding on those flower pieces, hot gluing those into place as well, and also hot gluing on the little leaves that we have all over. And I am kind of mimicking the design that is there on the original Anthropologie Inspo version as well. And then the next step is actually to create those little insides of the flowers. So for that, I'm grabbing 3 toothpicks and I'm hot gluing them together at the base. And then I'm creating some hot glue bulbs at the top of them, and that's what it looks like. And then here is a bunch of them already made. And then to secure them in place, I'm adding a bunch of hot glue onto the end and sticking it into the inside of the flower. And then I'm just repeating that for all 5 flowers. Next up, we are going to tape off the electrical parts of this lamp, so including the top and the cord, to make sure that they don't get colored at all in this next step, because the next step is spray painting. So I took this lamp outside and gave it a nice coat of gold spray paint, and while I was waiting for it to dry, I went ahead and had a 3-second photo shoot with my husband taking these photos. This is the one I posted on Instagram. And by the way, shout out to my Instagram at DIY Dalia with an underscore at the end. Please follow me over there if you're not already. And once that was dry, as you can see, it's all gold and looking ready to go for the next step, which is another level of gold, okay? So for this, we are adding some gold leaf onto some parts of the lamp. This is the gold leaf that I have. You can get it from Amazon super affordably. This is the glue I'm using, but you can also just use some Mod Podge if you have that around as well. And the reason I chose to do the gold leafing in these sections is because that's exactly what it looks like on the Anthropologie version as well. You can definitely see that there's like this gold background, but then there's pops of the super metallic gold leafing. So that is what I decided to do as well. So I'm just kind of adding on those pieces of gold leaf. And if you actually look closely at what's happening here, it looks crazy right now because there's just these pieces of gold leaf just like flailing around off the edges. But now I'm going ahead with a dry brush and I'm just kind of like scraping off any of the excess gold leaf. And you guys, once all our excess gold leaf pieces are off, we have our brand new Anthropologie inspired lamp. Okay, you guys, so it is now the moment of truth and I want to know from you how much you think the DIY version looks like the Anthropologie version. Please let me know in a comment down below. You can leave me a rating of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. From my perspective, to let you know my thoughts, I think it is a 9.9 out of 10. The only thing I wish I did a little bit differently if I wanted to get the exact match was to make the base part a little bit lower, but overall the whole design looks exactly like the Anthropologie version. So the Anthropologie one was 178 euros, but I think they also sell it in US dollars for a similar amount. If you need to buy all the items, the total cost for this came to between $30 and $40. But for me, because I already had the spray paint, I already had the gold leaf, etc., it actually only cost about $15 to do this project, and to me that is a win. The one thing that was not factored in to cost when you think of DIYing is the time that it takes to do this project. And I will say that for me at least, excluding the thinking time of figuring out how to do it and just the actual DIYing time took me many hours. Honestly, I think Anthropologie is a little bit justified in charging a high price for this project, but if you have the time and you want to spend it on this, then I totally think it's worth it. For a fraction of the price, you can totally make almost the exact same lamp. It looks stunning, it's functional. I love it if you can't tell, and I'm very, very excited because I also think that it matches these lamps really, really well with the gold and like the cream top and just everything about it. I think it matches very well. So I am very pleased with this project. And I just want to say, if you watched till this point, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And if you don't mind, please hit the like button down below because that helps the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure that you check me out over on Instagram. I'm at DIY Dalia with an underscore at the end. That would mean so much to me. So hopefully I'll see you over there as well. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Actually, it won't be next week. It'll be in 2 weeks. Okay.